Dan Lannon finally wins the big one. And now him and Oregon are the top Ducks in the Big Ten. You see what I did there? Haha, see what I did there? But welcome. It's football, bro. You can catch the podcast on any of the podcasting platforms, or you can check it out live on the YouTube. We're going to be talking about the top 25, all the games that went down this past weekend because there was a lot of craziness. And, of course, our Heisman front runners. Let's go ahead, get into that top 25. I only got one faller this week, and it was actually a pretty big jump down for Utah, unfortunately. As Utah, the Utes, man, they end up going down to Arizona State, and this was Cam Rising returning. We've been waiting. The prodigal son, where are you? Where art thou? He comes back, looks rusty, and now Utah has 2 losses in the Big 12, and that's kind of significant. But I mean, it doesn't put them out of Big 12 championship contention. Not this year in the Big 12. Big 12 looks like honestly, maybe you could get by with 2 conference losses, but that really depends on how the season goes down and whatnot. But yeah, bad loss for Utah, and just kind of things getting harder for them. It didn't feel right keeping them in the top 25 and keeping a team like, I don't know, ASU out of it, but they did just miss my top 25. Again, ASU with a huge win. Don't look now, Sun Devils 5-1, man. 5-1. Golly, dude. I think their one loss is Texas Tech. Let me just go and confirm that. But, man, this just feels like a ragtag team, man, getting it done. And you just love to see it. Yeah, one loss was Texas Tech this season. But ASU, you got to wonder, well, how will they, what does their future look like in the Big 12 this year? As, I mean, to be fair, the schedule gets a little tougher. Actually, their next 6 games are pretty darn tough for Arizona. Cincinnati might be their easiest one. They get them next week. They get Oklahoma State, a team that's kind of in turmoil. Central Florida, which you could argue that might be their next easiest challenge, as now they're having the quarterback turnover. But then they end the year, Kansas State, BYU, Arizona. So it's going to be a tough road ahead for the Sun Devils. Syracuse, they also just miss the list. They're going to be getting a bye this week, but they moved to 5-1. They beat NC State. Yay. They should have beat them by more. I was kind of shocked that Syracuse was only 2.5-point favorites. But, hey, man, NC State, I don't know, maybe. I thought NC State was going to be a good team this season. I thought they would be maybe a 3, worst case scenario, 4-loss team. It's not going to be the case for the Wolfpack, but they made it close. They got a interesting young quarterback in, what is his name? Like Quinn Bailey or something? But nonetheless, Syracuse, Kyle McCord and company, they're here. Just missed it. Nebraska, they're currently on the outside looking in. They're coming off a bye, but they got a big showdown with Indiana this week. Be on the look for that sucker. And then Texas Tech, a team I just mentioned with Arizona State, as Texas Tech's only loss this year is against, I think, 5-1 Washington State, which Washington State, you could argue, should make this list, as their only loss has been against, well, Boise State. But nonetheless, we got not Nebraska, but Texas Tech. They had a bye. They get Baylor next week. And then Navy, just on the outside looking in for me. They had a bye. They get Charlotte. They should be big favorites in that game. I look forward to betting it. Let's go ahead, get to the top 25, because you know I got a new team in here. And we're actually going to be talking about them relatively quickly, as Army is the new addition. Army, Military Academy, they've done it. They moved to 6-0. They beat UAB 44-10. Hit that minus 23.5 for me. They're blowing teams out. Love to see it. Army Navy, can we see them take on each other twice this year? Maybe see them take on each other in season and in the AAC championship game. Maybe both make the playoffs. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's getting a little far-fetched there, but Dude, Army doing some great things this year. Illinois, they make it for me at 25. Purdue, okay, they were crushing Purdue. I don't know. I was like, what the hell is happening? They were crushing Purdue 27-3. I go back to the game because good buddy in the chat is going crazy. And I'm like, this game's going to overtime. Purdue came roaring back. They took the lead. They put in a freshman quarterback because Hudson Carr hasn't been doing anything this year. And he played really good, man. He played really good for Purdue. Illinois, at the end of the day, able to sneak it out. Purdue unable to get the 2-point conversion to go in overtime. So Illinois wins 50-49. Now they freaking have to go to... Is that game going to be in Ann Arbor against... No. Fortunately, it's going to be at Champaign for Illinois. But they take on Michigan. Not. Maybe this is a case of Illinois looking ahead, looking past Purdue, but nonetheless, man, it was a little scary. Pittsburgh's here at 23. Listen, I get it. They're undefeated. They're 6-0. But maybe something in me was like, Pittsburgh, how can you not cover the over? I even bet it down to like 54.5. And then Pitt and Cal score 32 combined. What the hell? To be fair, this is a Cal team playing really good football this season. They really have. Mendoza, he's been slinging it. Has he been perfect? Hell no. But Pittsburgh's looked really good this year. They're going to be going on a bye this week. And then let's take a gander at their upcoming schedule. Pittsburgh Panthers schedule. As their next game will again, the schedule gets a little bit harder. They take on Syracuse. They get that game at home. That'll happen October 24th. Then they got to travel to SMU, which they're a one-loss team, but one loss against undefeated BYU. Looking a little bit better. I feel like SMU has gotten pretty hot down the stretch. And I mean, you close the year with like Virginia, Clemson, Louisville, Boston College. You played the easy part of your schedule. And you did well. You got wins. I'm just not buying completely into this Pittsburgh team just yet. Boise State, they get by Hawaii. Hawaii came out with a good game plan, but they get by. They win 28-7. And Ashton Genty, man, if you didn't bet him before the year, good luck getting good odds on him for being the Heisman Trophy winner. Because, golly, man, I do love me some Ashton Genty. And then Michigan, they had the bye. They get Illinois. They travel to Champaign. I'm kind of curious who's going to be the starter at quarterback for Michigan going into that game, but we'll find out when we get there. They are one of two-loss teams I have in my top 25. Going to number 20, it's Missouri. They're still sitting here. Cool, you pounded UMass, but I'm still trying to wash the taste of that, 41-7 loss to Texas A&M. Still trying to wash that sucker out of my mouth. Oh, it was terrible to see. And you know what? Auburn might be just the proper dose of medicine. You smash UMass 45-3. Now you take on an Auburn team that's kind of in disarray. So, cool. Ole Miss. They dropped their second game of the year. They have now 2 losses in SEC play. They lose to LSU in overtime, 29-26. They're going to be getting a bye this week. But things got a lot harder for Ole Miss. They really, really did, man. Ole Miss should have won this game. And LSU fans might not like to hear that, but it's true. I was saying this during the because I was watching this game while we were doing the live stream of Oregon, Ohio State, which we'll talk about. But I was watching this game and I was like, dude, like Ole Miss should have like 13, 16 more points than they do. They should. Like, what's going on in this LSU game? Like, you had the Trey Harris dropped touchdown pass. You had a missed field goal. You had a 4th and like 1 at the 2, and they go for it, and instead of taking the points. And yeah, it was just it was got to a point where it was like, man, Ole Miss, they should be up way more in this game, and it just bide time for LSU to get their bearings and get into the game. And this second half, like LSU won the second half. Ole Miss, I think they won the first half, didn't do enough to make a lead, but LSU won that second half, man. LSU, Garrett Nussmeier, I know he wasn't perfect, but man, he was slinging the ball all around. Came up big with the tutty in overtime. You had the defense come alive. Like, this was a game of two different offensive lines, one that struggled and one that didn't give a crap. LSU's offensive line, for the most part, did a relatively solid job at neutralizing a very scary pass rush from Ole Miss. While Ole Miss, they just couldn't get pressure against LSU, or at least LSU, man. They were just constantly getting pressure. Every play felt like freaking Jackson Dart was on the ground. He was taking a pounding. And the minute Trey Harris was out of this ball game, I don't know what the hell happened to the offense. They kept forcing it to the cat in the slot. What was it, like Chris Lee or something? And then, holy freaking moly, like, Juice Wells, where have you been the last couple of games? They can't complete a pass to him. Ole Miss now 2 losses in SEC play. Long shot to make the SEC championship game. And at this point, a long shot to make the playoffs. They get Oklahoma on the 26th. You got Arkansas. You get Georgia. Fortunately, Oklahoma and Georgia are at home. Is Florida going to be an easy out late next month? I don't know, man. I don't know. SMU, they had a bye. They're 5-1. I currently have them at 18. They have Stanford. They have a reasonably easy rest of the way, with Pittsburgh probably being their biggest competition there. Iowa State, I moved them to 17, and I'm sorry, I just have a hard time right now still trying to buy in to this Iowa State team, and it's just like I don't think they've really beaten anybody. Like, they've had some good wins, like, here and there. Don't get me wrong. The win against Iowa, impressive. The win against West Virginia, impressive. Outside of that, what? They open, yeah, I mean, it's not like they've really had, like, dominating wins. And, like, the schedule gets a little more difficult down the stretch for Iowa State. Currently 6-0 Iowa State, by the way. As this upcoming week, they get Central Florida. Central Florida is kind of, they're on the struggle bus. The Gus struggle bus. They get Texas A&M after that. That's not a shoo-in win. Kansas, okay. Kansas, rough year for Kansas. Cincinnati, but the end of the year with Utah, which presumably should have Cam Rising, and Kansas State. So I'm moving them up moderately. If you're not new to the channel, you know I do this with my power rankings. I do this with my top 25. When I move teams, I do it slowly. I do it moderately. I'm not going to have teams take these massive jumps or big falls unless it's like really big wins. And Iowa State, to me, just hasn't had that big win. Texas A&M, they had the bye this week. They get Mississippi State. Mississippi State, basically a team in rebuild, first year Levy, so they should win there and move to 6-1. Let's get to the top 15. Listen, there's a lot of parity in college football. There's a lot. You hear the dogs, man. That they love it right now. They're loving it, man. College football's in all kinds of. Is a 12-team playoff big enough? It's kind of where we're at in college football. Kansas State coming in at 15. They beat Colorado 31-28 in Boulder. They get West Virginia next week. For the most part, Kansas State they ran over Colorado in this game, forcing like 16 forced missed tackles. Giddens was great. A lot of injuries during the game. A lot of players leaving, coming back after like a series or so. But they controlled the game. They led the whole way. Colorado kind of got back into there, but Colorado was also struggling with injuries. You had Travis Hunter go down with a few plays left in the second half or in the first half. You had wide receivers also go down, and they got back into that ball game. And to be fair, like I thought the defense for Colorado did a solid enough job shutting down the pass, but it was like, man, that's really the run you need to worry about. But then at the end, I really hated Shedur's fourth down pass. I just thought it was a poor decision. Like, you only need a few yards. Why are you going deep on a contested ball that you really just kind of like floated out of bounds? I thought it was a bad call. But Kansas State, they pull away. They do the thing. They will get West Virginia next week. Indiana, they are at 14, currently undefeated. They had the bye this week. Big game for Indiana next week as they'll be taking on Nebraska and Matt Rule. Who will win? Signetti or Rule? You shall see. But Curtis Rourke playing great football. Notre Dame, they are 5-1. They beat the pants off of Stanford. After Stanford, they scored first. They were up 7-0, and then bam, 49 points later. Well, Notre Dame ran through them. Notre Dame doing the thing. They get Georgia Tech. One of the honestly, the rest of the schedule doesn't look like easy sledding for Notre Dame. Like, they get Georgia Tech. You still got Navy, Army on the schedule. You still finish the year in the Coliseum against USC, which USC, I know they're a 3-loss team right now, but I think combined, they've lost those games by like 15 points or so. So, like, a USC team that's not losing by a large margin in games. That's a good USC team, and you're facing them in the Coliseum. So, it's not easy sledding for Notre Dame, and since they're not a Group of 5 team, they're not a Power 4 team, kind of feels like they need to win out to make the playoffs. Maybe you could get in at 10-2 just with how many teams are beating down one another. I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see with Notre Dame. And then at number 12, listen, I had Liberty at the beginning of the year. They are my team to make it in the Group of 5. I think they have one of the easier schedules, though they're not making it look like it. They're not making it look like it. It took overtime to beat Florida International. What the hell are we doing? But I still think they're the best team in Conference USA. They're undefeated. They had the Appalachian State game canceled because of the hurricane. And so they're probably going to be like they're probably going to be 11-0, 12-0 if they win the conference championship. And that's unfortunately just not going to probably be good enough for whoever comes out of the Mountain West as the conference winner, because that team's going to have one loss. In theory, say UNLV wins out or Boise State wins out, they win the whole thing. So I think Liberty is going to be that team. BYU's here at 11, pounded poor Arizona. Pounded Arizona 41-19. They'll take on Oklahoma State next weekend. Is that game at home? I want to see the line for that game. That game it'll be at home for BYU. It's Friday night. BYU's a 9-point favorite. I think I'm willing to take BYU 9.5, man. I like that. But look at that. We're already looking into the future. Let's get to this top 10, though. As at 10, I have the LSU Tigers, who just got a big win in overtime over Ole Miss. Is LSU back? Are they back? Well, they're currently 5-1. They take on Arkansas next week, and they don't have a conference loss. Their loss came at the beginning of the year against USC in Vegas. I almost said Nolans. But in Vegas, let's take a look at the remainder of the schedule, because they get, I figured they got either Alabama or Georgia. I can't remember which, but Arkansas, Texas A&M, Alabama, that's tough sledding. You get Vandy coming to town. You got to go to the Swamp. Take on Florida. Oklahoma's kind of a mess. I'll talk about them when we get to Texas, but LSU, tough schedule. Can they get it done? Can they get it done? Watch out, LSU, man. I had them in. I had them coming into the year as a 3-loss team. And, I mean, those losses could be Bama, could be A&M. But there's a good chance they end up going 5-1 and end the year at 10-2. And that might be that'll be only one loss in the SEC. That'll be enough for a conference championship game. So that's kind of that could be kind of big for LSU. Clemson at 9, man. They've been one of the hottest teams since taking that L to Georgia. They pound Wake Forest 49-14. Clemson's been a covering machine. Cade Klubnik's a new man, by the way. This man's slinging. The schedule does get harder. They get Virginia this upcoming week. They'll follow that up with Louisville, then Virginia Tech, then Pittsburgh, and the year with South Carolina. Not significantly harder. You look at all that, and then it's like, yeah, they should probably win out. Kind of feels like they should win out. They don't get Miami. If they do face Miami, it would be in the ACC championship game. That's if Miami wins out. We'll see. I'll talk about Miami in a second, but Clemson's playing really good football. Tennessee's here at number 8. Not too long ago, man, I had Tennessee at 11, and I was like, man, they're looking good. They're looking dominant. Just need to see them face a team that's legit. And I had someone creep up in the comments section. This is humiliating. This is a laughing stock. How can you not have Tennessee in the top 10? Well, NC State, they're not good. They're not as good as we thought they were. They pounded Kent State. Good. Join everyone else. Everyone else has pounded Kent State. And I was like, I mean, I guess I should move them up. The minute I move them into my top 5, to take that L at Arkansas. And this game did not look good against Florida. It did not look good. Quickly has this offense turned to one-dimensional. They cannot run the football. They cannot move the football. Nico, not looking great, having to go past his first read, just not seeing the field well. And this is an offense that creates a lot of space in for the quarterback so they can make those easy reads. Don't know what's up there. Defense is still doing their dang thing, doing the best that they can to keep Tennessee in ball games, but hey, we're going to find out a lot about Tennessee as they take on Alabama this upcoming week. What is the line? I'm kind of curious. Alabama 2.5-point favorite? Dude, give me that in a heartbeat. I don't care that it's in Knoxville. Like, I think you can maybe bet that up to 6.5. Then again, man, Tennessee defense, don't sleep on it. And actually, kind of the Achilles heel of Alabama this year has been their run defense. Tennessee, that's like the one thing offensively they can do really well. Maybe you keep it at 2.5. And then Georgia, they win not pretty against Mississippi State. They win 41-31. It was kind of slow going. So it was a little surprising nonetheless, but they end up getting the job done. They take on Texas. It's going to be in Austin. They are going to be the underdogs, deservingly so. Does this offense have enough firepower to get things done? I have my doubts. I ain't going to lie, I have my doubts. Really do when it comes to Georgia. And the defense hasn't been the defense that we are accustomed to when it comes to Georgia. But they're 5-1. Congrats. Alabama's here at 6. Freaking hold your heart. I talk about the Hurricanes being the cardiac Canes. How about the cardiac Crimson Tide not being able to put away games? Coming off the loss to Vandy, I thought this was okay. They should go in there and pound South Carolina. Oh, that's right. I forgot. Alabama can't stop the run, and South Carolina, that's kind of what they got going for them. South Carolina, props to them for making this game very exciting, very close, but you started to see some of the cracks in the armor of Jalen Milroe. Forced a couple of passes there. Led to what almost was a pick 6 for South Carolina. Alabama, they do eventually get it done, 27-25, but the defense don't look that great. And offensively, they're kind of having to backpack the team. But let's move to the top 5. Miami, they're here at 5. They're undefeated. They're 6-0. They had a bye this week. Good, they needed it. They're taking on freaking Louisville next week. And I don't know if this defense is ready. Didn't look good against Virginia Tech. Didn't look good against California. I get it, man. Cam Ward, he's that guy, dude. He's a playmaker. He's also thrown pick sixes in each of those games. And listen, this is a good Louisville team with a good defense. I don't think Miami's going to be able to come from behind if they get down to Louisville. I just don't. Sorry, not sorry. I'm a Hurricanes fan. I speak nothing but truth. And the truth is, you head into freaking Louisville, and I'm kind of hesitant if they can get things done here. I'm sorry. I'm scared. I'm a Hurricanes fan. They're the Cardiac Canes right now. Can they get it done? I'm not completely sold yet. Ohio State, they're here at 4 after taking the L. Taking a loss to Oregon, 32-31 in Eugene. They will get a bye. Let's talk about this game for a second. As you'll see, Oregon is my new number 1. They are my new number 1. They get Purdue this upcoming week, this Friday. What's the line on that game? Oregon minus 27.5. Hey, Purdue covered this past week on 22.5. You think they could cover against Oregon? Probably not, but it is what it is. I mean, 27, that's a big number. That's a big number, though. Let's talk about this game just in general. Like, it opens up. Oh, man. Like, Ohio State just drove down the field. Doesn't look like Oregon's going to be able to stop them. To be fair, you could have said that pass over the middle was to the tight end was an interception. Ends up not going to review. You could argue that ends up not being called an interception. Kind of is what it is. And then Oregon, they just kind of keep coming back until we start getting a game that keeps changing. Like you have them just trading off the lead, and it was exciting. It really was. And what it came down to for Ohio State was, for one, the secondary sucked. Denzel Burks, golly, I've never seen someone sink their draft stock so quickly. What a rough game for him. Don't know why Ohio State was playing off coverage almost this entire game. That's a problem when Denzel Burke, very good press corner, and you're having him play consistently 7 to 10 yards off the football. Evan Stewart, he ate. But you go to the trenches, and Ohio State unable to run the football. Like, you had Travion have that one big run, but outside of that, like, him and Quinshawn didn't do much in this game, and Oregon was able to run the football. Oregon's offense was able to do things. Let me give a little shout out to Derek Harmon, looking like a grown man pulling an ice cream out of a child's hand when he ripped Quinshawn Junkins. And then we get to the second half. It's where the game got fascinating. Because for that whole second half, every time Ohio State scored a touchdown, I was like, go for the 2-point conversion. Like, why aren't you trying to make this a 7-point game? I don't understand that logic. Why aren't we going for 2-point conversions? Okay. And we could talk about the final drive. Like, Oregon, I don't think the secondary played particularly well. Will Howard was able to eat. Emeka Ibuka, Jeremiah Smith, they all looked really good in this game outside of, well, the offensive pass interference. But at the end of this game, you got just all kinds of dysfunction for Ohio State. You're able to get in field goal position fairly quickly. I mean, at one point it would have been about a 45-yard field goal, and then this is where you have the the offensive pass interference, the push off by Jeremiah Smith with about 20, I think there was about 30 to 28 seconds left. And since it was an offensive penalty, the clock kept running. I don't know how Ryan Day or no one on that Ohio State sideline noticed the clock running down. They had one timeout left. You let it get down to like 10 seconds or so. And then they end up throwing it in completion. You had like 12 men on the field for Oregon. And you got 6 seconds left. If you run a quick play, it better be darn quick. Better be darn quick. Instead, you got Will Howard scrambling. Slides, thinking he has... I mean, to be fair, when he slid, he had like 1 second left. But ends up expiring. You don't even get a chance to kick the field goal. That's not on Will Howard. I mean, yeah, you probably should have passed that football, but did Will Howard let like 30 seconds drain off the clock after the offensive penalty? No, that was the coaching staff. How does not one person know or even notice time is moving? Just dysfunction. It was a sucky way to end the game, man. And I bet you the field goal kicker for Ohio State, either he's bummed he didn't get a chance to be the hero, or he's breathing a sigh of relief that he didn't have a chance to lose the game on a field goal. Because it would have been about a 45, 50-yard field goal or somewhat. But props to Oregon. Ohio State, they're a good team. I think those are probably your two of the three best teams in college football. At least that's what it appears to me right now. Penn State's here at number 3. They're currently unbeaten. I get it. It took overtime to beat USC in the Coliseum 33-30. But golly gee willikers, they got it done. They got it done. And they were, it was like they were down 20-6 at half. And you know what? I don't mind it. I don't mind Penn State showing that they could come from behind, handle adversity, and find a way to win the game. I don't mind it. I don't mind it one bit. And now you get to go relax on a bye. Penn State, what's the rest of your schedule look like? As they will get Ohio State on November 2nd. You don't have to face Michigan this year. I mean, the rest of their schedule is like Maryland, Purdue, Minnesota, Washington, Wisconsin. There's a real chance that Penn State's going to be 11-1 playing for the Big Ten championship game. Props to Penn State, man. They moved to 6-0. Texas moves to 6-0. They beat Oklahoma 34-3. Now they take on Texas this week. Quinn Ewers, he looked rusty, but it was a good thing that Oklahoma had no offense this game. Granted, they're like top 5 receivers out this game. You had the offensive line just playing poorly. Many of those guys were coming off of injury. I don't know why Hawkins wasn't benched at some point just to get a spark. Like, you have Jackson Arnold. What are we doing here? Like, your offense isn't moving the football. Like, things were going Oklahoma's way. You had, Quinn Ewers coming out looking rusty, throws the pick. You're playing the field goal position game. You're constantly in good position to where you really only need 30, 35 yards to put yourself in position to kick a field goal. Or you, I don't know, man. The Oklahoma defense, poor Oklahoma defense. You know what this game felt like? It felt like that Clemson Georgia game where both teams played really good first halves. Clemson couldn't get anything going on offense, but the Clemson defense was there to limit and just hold Georgia to minimal points. But then in the second half, the offense just never emerged, and the offense just couldn't get going, so Georgia ran away with it because, the defense ran out of gas. this was kind of the case, man. The defense ran out of gas. Like, it was just kind of rough, man. It was a rough, like, it was a boring game. So much so, like, this was our watch along game. We turned it off. Just wasn't good. Wasn't great. What can I say? Didn't love it. Didn't love it. Of course, got to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. You see the nice little Underdog Fantasy logo back there. But if you go to Underdog Fantasy, sign up using promo code Broshmo. They will match your first deposit up to $250. It's the best place to play weekly best ball, or my favorite, higher or lower on player stats. We got a Monday Night Football game, and they got some free picks for you. They got some free picks for you if you want to take advantage of it. So if you want to get in on the action, hey, it's October. We're deep into the baseball playoffs as well. They don't just do football. They do all kinds of sports. So get in on the action at Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Broshmo when you sign up. They'll match that first deposit up to $250. But as always, bet responsibly. Bet within your means. Let's talk about Heisman frontrunners. Cade Klubnik, baby. Here he is. He had a big game. And I will tell you, I debated between Cade and Dylan Gabriel. Spoiler, Gabriel didn't make my top 5 of the Heisman frontrunners. He would be 6 for me. I'm riding with Klubnik. I think he's playing the better football. Granted, he doesn't have a win like Ohio State on the resume just yet. But, I mean, to be fair, looking at Clemson's remaining schedule, he won't have a win like Ohio State, even if they win out. But I think dude's slinging the football, and, like, he's starting to become a legit draft prospect. Like, he is. Like, I get it, man. Maybe he gets tested against Virginia this week. We'll see. But Klubnik's playing good football. I thought he deserved a shout out. I really did. And then next on my Heisman front runners at 4, I got Jalen Milroe. Listen, Milroe's still playing hella good football. He's putting up a lot in terms of stats. He's got like 23 total touchdowns on the season. He's a big reason why Alabama is still one of these, I guess, do we call them elite? Is there an elite team in college football this year? I don't think so, but he's why that Alabama is still among these top teams, why they are still a top 10 team, why they are dangerous and potentially one of the best bets to make the SEC championship game. He had his Heisman moment already in that Georgia first half. I don't think you can deny Milroe just yet, man. I don't think, especially given, like, statistically, I just don't think you could put Gabriel right now over Milroe. But it's close. Again, it's close. At number 3, I got Cam Ward. He had the bye this week, but he's slinging the football hella well. I think coming into the week, he led college football in touchdowns and passing yards. Passing touchdowns and passing yards. Obviously, him having the bye, that probably changes things, but nonetheless, Cam Ward, he every week feels like a Heisman moment after he throws a pick 6, rallying his team back. And then at number 2, probably should be my number 1, but I'm going to wait to see how bad the injury is for number 1. But I got Ashton Genty. He runs over Hawaii, gets his first receiving touchdown of the year. Finally, Boise, get him involved in the receiving game. It's not like he didn't have 500 receiving yards all of 2023, man. He was kind of good in that way. But Genty, like, he's my personal favorite to win. Like, I really like him, but I want to hold the brakes. I mean, basically, you could argue 1 and 2 is up for grabs. I got Travis Hunter. He played. I don't know if it's just the physicality catching up to him, and like stamina is never going to be a question. It's just with how physical football is. Is he someone that can play over 100 snaps every game? Over 120 snaps every game? He ends up hurting the shoulder. He was along the sideline, didn't have his helmet though. So there was no, you didn't expect him to come back into the game, but I imagine if he's on the sideline, it's not that serious. But still, to do what he's doing on both sides of the football, it's unreal. It's unreal. And if he's healthy, I think you can make a strong argument that he deserves to be at least in contention here at 1 and 2. Again, it's Hunter and Genty. Those are easily my leaders when it comes to the Heisman race. But before we get to my stock report, I got to give a shout out to the draft guy. We're about to talk about draft prospects, which means we're talking about the NFL draft. So if you want to increase your knowledge, if you want to know every prospect your team ends up drafting, if you love following the draft process in general, then check out my draft guide. It's a Google spreadsheet. I include, you got analytics from last season. You'll eventually have analytics from this season. It's got pro day combine numbers. It'll have notes on the senior shrine hula bowl. It's got evals on currently over 300 prospects, but I also list the guys that I want to watch that might be showing out this year. So it's giving you not just a ton of names, but a ton of evals. It's a great purchase. Again, if you love the draft, it gets updated as I update my draft board. As I update my big board, as I update my rankings, you will see that in real time. You'll see, hey, oh, he just dropped a new eval on this guy. Because again, it's what I use to keep up with all these draft prospects. So it's a great purchase. It's a great way to support the channel. You can get it for $30 either on PayPal at Broshmo, Venmo at Broshmo, or you can go on the Cash App, $realbroshmo. It is a Google spreadsheet, which means you got to send me your email with the purchase. So be sure to do that, or else I'll have to hunt you down because I want to make sure you get it. If you're gonna invest in me, I'm gonna invest in you. So I will find you. I will find you. I will kill you. No, not really. Not really. I'm just doing a Liam Neeson impression. Calm down. Calm down. But we're at that part of the video. We gotta talk some draft prospects. As once again, we had a crazy week in college football, which means there were some draft prospects helping their stock, hurting their stock. Welcome to the stock report. Let's go ahead, get into the nitty gritty with my first player on the stock report in Tyler Warren. How could it be anyone else? The man goes off. He goes off in this game, going for 17 receptions for 224 yards, a touchdown, crazy touchdown, by the way. Didn't even notice it in the replay. I had to have someone in the chat point it out to me that, oh, he lined up at center for that touchdown catch. What? He snapped the ball and caught the touchdown? That's insane. But he should have had a passing touchdown in this game, got negated by a penalty, but he had 4 rushing yards. He also had a 9-yard pass, but had a phenomenal game. Coming in at 6'6", 257 pounds. And Tyler Warren was my tight end 3, I think, entering the year because, well, I projected Oscar Delp to kind of have a breakout year, and that's not been the case for Delp, and I imagine he ends up returning. But Tyler Warren was formerly a 4-star recruit where he played quarterback. I mean, he was recruited as an athlete, but played quarterback in high school. You love to see that. You love to see it. Played basketball, played baseball, multi-sport athlete. And I remember going into my summer scouting with Warren. Based on his analytics, I was like, I don't think I'll love Warren. And then I watched Warren. And then I was like, oh no, I love Tyler Warren because I love the athleticism, man. He accelerates well. Like, he's got the speed to threaten the seams, even if you're not convinced on his launch speed to be able to pull away from guys, it's fine. He's a tight end. I'm okay with that. The yak ability, hella good. and just versatile. Like, it's kind of become a meme at this point where it's like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Where in the world is Tyler Warren? Is he out wide? Is he in the slot? Is he in line? Is he playing H-back? Is he snapping the freaking football? It's become a meme at this point. He's a legitimate red zone threat. He had, I think, seven red zone touchdowns last season. He's improved in terms of drops. Like drops last season, he was at 15% this year. Far less. If you want to argue for him being the top tight end in this class, I don't think I could argue against it. I truly don't think I could argue against it. He's played that good that you could probably put him ahead of Colston Loveland, because Loveland unfortunately plays for a team that can't pass the football. Also, I think he's missed a couple of games because of injury, but Tyler Warren, he probably was the player of the week in terms of prospects. Next on the list, I got Evan Stewart. We're going to talk about this Ohio State-Oregon game, but Evan Stewart had the best game of his college career. He's small, I get it, coming in at 6 foot, 175 pounds, but he had 7 receptions, 149 yards, had a touchdown. The long reception just absolutely dusted poor Denzel Burke on a little bit of a double move, got Burke to basically stutter enough, to pause enough to where he was like, well, I'm Evan Stewart, and fun fact, I accelerate hella well. Because, I mean, that's his game, man. The dude accelerates really well. He's an elite athlete. You go back to high school, man, he was a track athlete where he claimed the Texas 5A long jump title with a silver medal, also in the triple jump. He also had a gold medal among the 4x400 meter relay, had a silver medal in the 4x200 meter relay. So, like, yeah, we're talking about an elite athlete. The route runner is really good with him. Like, at least I think he's getting better. He's learned to tempo his routes. He's using that just smoothness, slickness as an athlete. And, I mean, again, we saw it on the long reception there. And, like, the biggest thing that's working against Evan Stewart is his size, his frame. As he's thin, it's a slender frame, but you saw the play strength. Like, it was a nightmare trying to tackle Evan Stewart. Like, the minute I think Burke touched him, Stewart took him for another 10 yards. It was just utterly insane. The drops have been a big improvement this season for him. So Stewart is a guy that it's like, okay, like, I like his ability to get off the line. Like, it's not to the degree of like Devontae Smith and what made Devontae Smith the first rounder, despite being also slender. But it's pretty darn solid. I really wish we saw Burke actually press him more in this game, but it is what it is. That's what Ryan Day and the coaching staff schemed up, is what it is. But big week for Evan Stewart. But of course, wasn't a big week for Denzel Burke. Burke had a rough go of things. There may have killed any first round hype that he had, and probably firmly puts him in day 2, at least for now. He allowed 8 receptions this game for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. Because fun fact, Tez Johnson dusted him too. Listen, I don't think Ohio State did a good job playing to Burke's strengths in this game. Like, Burke isn't a guy that can play 7 to 10 yards off the football consistently, and if you're not going to have help over the top, like, that's just at the end of the day what happened, man. The help was too late over the top. Dylan Gabriel saw it, and he toasted him. Like, Burke, like, he's not a bad prospect. He's not a bad prospect. Comes in with some good size at 6'1", 193. He's a fast athlete. He is. Oh, then how did Evan Stewart and Tez Johnson freaking toast him? Well, because he could be a little sloppy in transition. He got toasted on these routes because he bit. Because he bit. It was a rough day at the office for Denzel Burke. But listen, I still like Burke. I still think he deserves to be talked about maybe as a top 50, top 64 type of prospect. Like, I still think he's firmly in that second round range. And I think that's fair. But he's not going to be someone you want playing off ball. That's just the stone cold facts. LT Overton out of Alabama. Defensive line, though he's playing majority off the edge, had himself a game against South Carolina. Looked hella good. Coming in at 6'5", 283 pounds. I don't think I've actually talked about him formally on the channel. He wasn't someone I watched during the summer. And I may have mentioned him in last week's mock draft, but he had a big game this week, so I figured, hey, this is a good time to talk about him before I actually get to my midseason edge rankings. But he had 9 pressures, 4 defensive stops, had a win rate of 20%, looking hella good, and he's kind of the guy on the Alabama defensive line because, well, the Alabama defensive line don't look all that good. They just don't look all that good. But Overton is, if you're talking about someone with just tools, he's that guy. He was formerly a Texas A&M, former 5-star recruit, mind you. And things didn't work out at A&M. Jimbo got fired. He comes to Alabama, and he's just got that blend of size and speed, plays powerful, plays with violence. He is just a constant penetrator, constantly creating havoc in the backfield. And with that size, he's got some versatility to him where you could shoot him in at like 3-tech. But the game is raw with him. It really is, man. He doesn't rush with a consistent plan. Like most times, he's out there out-athleting and trying to overpower opposing blockers. And that's not going to work all the time in the NFL. It's just not. So he's someone that's still trying to put that part of his game together. There are times where he's laid off the snap. He's not that disciplined against the run. Like occasionally he loses containment and doesn't keep gap integrity because like he wants to be a penetrator. So sometimes he just gets kind of like lost there in the backfield. And when it comes to leverage, I think he works better with his hand in the dirt. There will be times where he comes in from a 2-point stance and he just doesn't get down. He just plays with a bit of a high pad level, leaves strike zone open for defenders to be able to get in there. But if we're talking about raw ability, raw skills, he's got that tenfold. The dude is hella good. Next on the list is Emory Jones. He's an offensive tackle, but I think I'm kind of sold on him being a guard now. I think I am. Coming in at 6'6", 315 pounds. Had a rough day at the office. Like Will Campbell did a great job neutralizing this really good defensive line for Ole Miss. Emory Jones was he was on the struggle bus. He was flagged in this game. He allowed 9 pressures on 56 passing snaps. And I just don't think he's can hang a tackle right now. And if you do think he can, I think he's a bit of a project in that regard. Some of that is just stopping his feet on contact and just letting guys get by him. He doesn't really play with like his head on a swivel and won't entirely catch guys outside of who he's supposed to be blocking or who's in front of him. So now we're talking about someone who's probably limited to like a man blocking scheme potentially. Like, I don't know if he's going to be someone that could consistently go out there out on the move and hunt for people. He's just better at, hey, block the guy in front of you. That's kind of what he does. That's his thing. But like, there's still a lot to really like about Emory Jones. Don't get me wrong, man. Like, I think he's long. I think he's strong. I think he plays with pretty light feet, even though sometimes if he plants those feet at the wrong time. I think the hand usage is actually relatively solid. He does a good job using his hands independently. But part of me is like, he feels more of a project at tackle, and maybe you can start him early on at guard. That's kind of where I'm at with Emory Jones. But I'm going to stick to this game, and I'm going to talk about Garrett Nussmeier. I don't think I've talked about him exclusively on the channel. I may have mentioned him a few times. I didn't get to him in my summer scouting because, well, it's not like he had a lot of tape to pull from. But Garrett Nussmeier has kind of arrived. For the last 2 years, I've been saying LSU has the best backup quarterback in college football because I believed in Garrett Nussmeier. I thought Nussmeier was good when he had to step in and play. And this year, he's looking good. Is it perfect? Hell no. He went 22 for 51 in this game. I mean, granted, average depth of target was like 15 yards down the field. And, to be fair, he needed it. He came up with them big plays. He came up with them. But, that's kind of what I like about, like, Nussmeier. Like, he's a gunslinger. He's got good arm talent. He really does. He can push the ball downfield. You see the anticipation. He's very technically sound. He runs to pass the football so he can extend the play with his feet. But, like, he's got some good passes on tape. He truly does, man. Now, under pressure, he was much better this game. And to be fair, LSU actually did a relatively really good job of keeping him clean. But under pressure is kind of where I worry about him. Doesn't always set his feet. At times, he can be too much of that gunslinger, so to speak, and just put the ball in harm's way. Throw it. Oh, double coverage, be darned. I don't care. Also, he's a bit smaller, 6'2", 200 pounds. Not terribly small, but he is on the smaller range of the spectrum. But I think he is firmly like a day two. Maybe gets himself into the top 50. I don't know about first round yet. He's still got some big matchups left to play. But Nussmeier's looked really good this year. He really has. We're not done with this game, but I'll talk about the other prospect on the other side of the football at the end of the video. Just move on to Jake Brinnenstuhl, tight end out of Clemson, who's honestly, this tight end class is kind of good. So he's coming in at 6'6", 240, but he's got ample, like he's got enough room along that frame, ample enough room. There's the wordage I'm looking for to add to that frame. But this is a good tight end class. Like, I think we're going to see the third, fourth, fifth round. We're going to see a lot of guys go. And I think Brinnenstuhl could be one of those guys because he's still young. He'll be 22 when he's drafted, when he starts his rookie year. And he's a smooth athlete, like good explosiveness, good lawn speed. You could go to the tape. He's pulling away from defenders, and I'm not talking like safeties, linebackers, but in some cases corners, because he is someone that lines up in the slot quite a bit. He's very sure-handed. He shows good coverage recognition. He's a very versatile blocker, like as a move blocker and whatnot, though you're going to be like with that slender frame, which again has room to put mass on, but can he stick in line is going to be kind of a question. But I think everything's pointing in the right direction for Brinnenstuhl. I'm going to try to get to Cade Klubnik this week. I don't know. I'm a little busy this week because I'm going to start pushing out my mid-season rankings. So I might end up waiting to do Klubnik do him in a couple of weeks after maybe that Louisville game or so. But Brensel's done a really good job thus far this season. He had a great game against Wake Forest, 7 receptions, 104 yards, had the touchdown. But the tight end class is kind of meaty this year. Next on the list, it's DJ Giddens, running back out of Kansas State. Had a big game against Colorado where he had 25 carries for 181 yards. Also had 2 receptions for 38 yards. He's coming in at 6'1", 212 pounds. And when it comes to like Giddens entering the season, let me read for y'all my eval entering the season. As I was like, light feet, pretty good patience for the most part, extremely strong lower body. That was very apparent against Colorado. He powered through a lot of tackles. He has flashed ability in the passing game, but runs with high pads. Dude runs upright. He's 6'1". It happens. It happens. Taller backs, they're going to run more upright. That's just what happens. We see it with tackles. We see it with defensive linemen. When you're tall, you're gonna run with a bit of a higher pad level. You're gonna run in general, the higher pad level. I felt like he had light feet, but he wasn't like very explosive. Like he's fast in a straight line, but not that explosive. Like he's got good speed once he gets going, but he's very much a north-south guy. And this pegs into the thing that I think has gotten so much better about him this year is his vision. Like coming into the year, I was like, man, holes really need to be apparent for him. Like he doesn't do a good job of anticipating running lanes, and he just kind of closes the door to backdoor possibilities. And I feel like he's been so much better at that this year. So much better at that. Shoot, I mean, in this game, he was so much better at that. So, like, Giddens coming alive in a very good running back class, by the way. Just a very good running back class in general. So, he might end up getting, like, pushed down the board, but I think he's firmly, like, if you were to tell me Giddens could go in the 3rd round, I'd be like, I believe it. I think probably early day 3 is a little bit more likely, but I get it, man. Hell of a good football player. I'm going to stick with the running back position because I want to talk about Omarion Hampton. Because he's been playing really good football this year. Haven't got a chance to get to him here on the stock report. But he had a good game against Georgia Tech where he had 18 carries, 170 yards. Did have 4 receptions, only for 12 yards. But coming in at 6'1", 220 pounds. He is a true junior. And in terms of size and power, he's got it. He's got a great build, packs a punch. But golly, he is fast. He is fast. Once he gets going, he's hard to stop. Like the contact balance is really good. Despite being a taller back, he does run with a high pad level, but when he goes to initiate contact, he does a good job of lowering the shoulder. And I mean, dude, like the lower body is so thick with him that he just bounces off sometimes. And he's shown real ability in the passing game. Good burst, nimble footwork, but the vision can be inconsistent with him. Like he wants to be a downhill runner. That's cool. I'm fine with it. I like it. It's improved somewhat this year, but I still would say it's probably the weakest part of his game. But golly, just the combination of size, speed, contact balance, like if you want to argue him for like RB2 in this class, because let's be honest, RB1's Ashton Genty. We're talking RB2 at this point. Then I would say, yeah, go for it. Send it. I see it and I believe it. I see it. I believe it. And then the last cat I want to talk about here, going back to the LSU Ole Miss game, is Trey Amos, corner out of Ole Miss, coming in at 6'1", 190 pounds. Had a really good game against LSU where he allowed only 2 receptions on 9 targets, 429 yards, had 2 pass breakups, and an interception. I do briefly want to kind of go over his background because he isn't a player that I've talked about, at least talked about in depth on the channel, as he was formerly a 3-star prospect out of the 2020 class, big track star as a long jumper, won the state championship his senior year, ends up going to Louisiana, where really you didn't start until 2022, where he had 10 starts. Ends up transferring to Alabama last year, where he's stuck behind Kool-Aid McKinstry and Terrion Arnold and Malachi Moore, because Malachi Moore kind of plays that star role. So he was like stuck behind really good players there. But when he did get to start, when he did jump into the rotation, I thought he looked pretty good. Which, when he decided to enter the transfer portal again after Kalen DeBoer got hired, I was like, oh, he's going to be big somewhere. So he ends up going to Ole Miss, and he's been really good this season. He really has. He's got a very long frame. He's big. He's on the bigger side for the position. Huge wingspan, and 23 career pass breakups is a ludicrous number. But he also uses that length to be a sure tackler. 11.6% missed tackle rate over his career. And he's someone who has played in a variety of different schemes. He has going back to Louisiana, going to Alabama last year where they were a bit more zone heavy. And even Ole Miss this year, as Pete Golden at Ole Miss, he's known for having more of a complex defense. And he applauded Trey Amos this offseason for his ability to quickly pick up everything. And there was so much coming out of spring and fall camps about Trey Amos, Trey Harris going one-on-one and how it was must-see TV. And that's kind of come to fruition, I think, this season for Amos. The ball skills are great with him, and I love the physicality he plays with. I always talk about, sometimes it can be too handsy, but I always talk about how, hey, when it comes to these physical corners, like, oh, they could get flagged all the time. I'd rather have that corner that has that dog in them and having to teach them to be a little bit more discreet, teaching them to reel back that some, rather than someone who just doesn't have that dog in him to begin with. Because at least Amos got that nature in him. He's got that nature. Really does, man. Like, he's willing to come up, make plays against the run, make plays around the line of scrimmage. He can come up and play press. I feel like he could play in a variety of different schemes. Because you'll see him play off coverage as well. But I don't think he really has the downhill explosiveness or the quick feet to really play a lot off coverage. I think he's better within 5 yards of the corner. Or of the wide receiver. I really do. He is a bit of a long strider, but he does a good job of staying in the hip pocket of wide receivers. And he's got the long speed. If you're unfamiliar with parts of his game, if you're unfamiliar with him, go check out his final year at Louisiana in 2022 I think it was the bowl game. Was it the bowl game? I think it was the bowl game where they took on Houston. Him tracking Tank Dell down the field every snap. Freaking phenomenal. Really is. He limited Tank Dell pretty well in that game. But Amos was someone I knew going into the week. I was like, man, I know I'm talking about Nussmeier. Probably want to talk about Emory Jones because he's someone that gets thrown around in the first round, and I just don't think he's there. Just don't think he's there yet. But I know I want to talk about Amos. I really, really do. I'm so happy that I did. But that's it for the video. Let me know what you think. Who were some of the prospects that caught your eye this weekend, whether it was for good or bad reasons? Let me know in the comment section below. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later. Of course, before we head out today, I do want to take a gander at the chat, see what some of y'all are talking about. As we do got some talking about we got some talking about Wow, Michigan. People are mad about Michigan being in the top 25. Michigan does not deserve to be in the top 25. Blown out by Texas. Texas has been doing that to teams, though. Only beat Arkansas State by 10. Lost to Washington, who just got blown out by Iowa. Almost lost to USC, who hasn't been good. Well, they've been beat up. Okay, USC, all their losses have come within one score. Like, hating on USC, I think is kind of the wrong call. They might be the best 3-loss team in college football. Michigan, hey, like I said, I'm moderately moved teams down. Michigan could drop with another few losses here or there. I'm gonna be honest. I think they beat Illinois this week. Like, if you're someone that's saying, well, Illinois should be ranked over Michigan, I don't think that's gonna be the case after this week. So, is what it is. Still surprised Ohio State messed up that ending. Yeah, I think that's more on the coaching staff, Brandon, than Will Howard. Like, how do you not know the clock is running? You have a timeout. It's kind of a big goof. Good morning, Daniel. Walt says Tyler Warren's the real deal. Hey, dude, he's good. Do you think Oregon's quarterback is NFL material? I do not. Too small. Sorry, after Bryce Young, I can't be sold on these short Keens anymore. So maybe people stop mock drafting a round 1 running back to the Texans this week. Yeah, probably. But thanks for hanging out with me. I'll be out with a mock draft for you later today. I'm gonna get my college top 25 video out for you pretty soon after this. And hey, we're gonna be doing mid-season prospect rankings starting this week. That's going to start Wednesday. I'm going to start putting those together. So be on the look for that. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll be back tomorrow morning with the NFL recap. I gotta go back and watch a lot of games. Wasn't able to watch a ton yesterday. So I got a lot of work to do today. It's going to be great. Love it. Just absolutely love it. But before you head out, hit that thumbs up. It's always much appreciated, much obliged. Feel free to share the stream as well. That's always fun. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.